Removing the defender and fork.
Okay, now this game has another story because each game has a story. This was played in the last round of Groningen, which is a town in the Netherlands. And typically, at the end of every year, over Christmas, they have a strong international tournament. Usually something like December 21st to 30th, and on Christmas they don't play. But they have some kind of dinner for the players. Anyway, so I would play every year because I lived in Belgium, so play in Groningen. And this particular Groningen, if it was December 92, that means I didn't live in Europe. That means I flew from Michigan to play in the tournament. Okay. Which also would mean that's when they had the PCA interzonal. But that's way too complicated a story for you guys. Okay. Now, this is the last round of the tournament where I wasn't doing very well because that's the story of my life. And I'm not playing for a prize, but I'm just, playing to play, like in Color of Money, play. And my opponent needed a draw to get an IM norm. Okay, so that's the good news for him. The bad news for him is he's German.
Yeah.
So I'm not giving a German a draw to get an IM norm. I wouldn't give anybody a draw to get a norm ever. I always play to win when somebody needs a norm. You got to earn your norm. No easy baskets. Okay, when he offered me a draw, I brought in Dikembe Mutombo and he did this. Okay, no draw. And my opponent did offer me a draw on move 10. Okay, so we had a boring opening. So nobody's trading anything. And I think he played knight BD2 and offered me a draw. This position's already very pleasant for black. I don't have any issues. It's, it's sort of equal. But my opponent's lower rated than me, and I don't give people a draw because they want to get a norm. I have a history of beating people who need a draw for an IM norm in the last round, or a win. In fact, I played Enrico Savillano. He needed a win for his last GM norm, and I beat him that game when I was having the worst tournament ever. But, I can't give people norms. Okay, now, I'll tell that story at the end. Remind me to tell a story at the end.
Okay.
It's better at the end.
If I can remember.
Okay. So I played Queen E7, A3, and this was in 92, and I probably didn't indicate when the stream started that in 1992 I was good. In fact, my FIDE rating was 90 points higher than it is now. God damn. Okay, and so, this kind of position where I don't have any problems out of the opening, that's not good for my opponent because I'm better than my opponent. But sometimes in the opening, my play is a little iffy. And at this point in my chess career, I was studying the opening a lot. So I got a lot of good positions out of the opening. I wasn't being lost out of the opening. Okay, so I played A5, gaining some space on the queen side. He played queen C2, and now I gain space in the center by playing E5. This is very similar to the game I beat Tony Miles in Ostend in 1988. Unless it was 89. I think it was 88. I lost the score sheet for that game. That's one of my favorite games.
Oh, yeah, real quick. Didn't you reach out to somebody about it?
Yeah, but nothing ever happened.
Who was it?
Gary Lane.
Oh, we should pursue that.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so he played E4, which is strategically suspect. And the engine wants me to play D4, which makes perfect sense. But I played D takes E4, which is also good. Knight takes is, for some reason, worse than pawn takes. And this position is just good for black because in the symmetrical pawn structure, my opponent has a pawn on C4 and I have a pawn on C6, which means eventually, and eventually does happen, I have access to the D4 square, likely a knight, and he doesn't have access to the D5 square. This pawn structure isn't always good for black. Sometimes it's good for white if white can advance on the queen side. White cannot advance on the queen side. Therefore, it's good for black. So if white could cheat and play b4 and c5, now we're talking. Then he could play knight d2, knight c4, and he would have probably an advantage. But if he can't play b4 and or c5, I control d5, he doesn't control d4, black is better. Okay, and the engine agrees. The engine realizes black is better here. Also, he has the a3 weakness. I have two pieces attacking a3, and he has two pieces defending it. So he's got to sort of sit there and babysit his a3 pawn. Doesn't want to play a4 because that gives me more squares for my bishop and knight. Okay, so I played rook fd8 because I want to play knight f8, knight e6, so I can't have my rook on f8. I don't want to play rook a to d8 because my rook on f8 is not doing anything. My rook on the queen side could be valuable later if the queen side opens up. He played knight e1, and probably he was thinking like knight c2, knight e3 at some point. I always played f6. Now his bishop, neither one of his bishops is very good.
So in the game when black got when you got the advantage, and you were just explaining about d5 and d4, do you think about it like that during the game, or is it just so obvious and intuitive it's not even put into words? Like when I'm just wondering how a grandmaster might think about it.
Like when you see this pawn structure, these four pawns, like you know that you have a positional advantage here, and you're hoping they can't play b4, c5.
Yeah, but I wouldn't have known any of that, and so you don't even think about it's just obvious.
Yeah, well, also I was good in 92. Now I'd resigned.
You're not having to think about any of that to figure it out.
Right.
It's real obvious to you at that time.
Yeah, and I think he probably realizes this isn't good for him, and this is the negative strategical disadvantage of playing the move e4. When you play e4 and c4, which he did, I didn't do it, he did it, then you weaken d4 because that's the way chess works, is you can't. And sort of like in the Sicilian, in the open Sicilian, you've obviously played c5 on move 1 because that's the Sicilian. If you play e5, a lot of times that's too weakening and you're weakening the d5 square. And this is the same thing. You're putting two pawns on the fourth rank with a file in the middle, so you're weakening all these squares that can't be protected by pawns anymore. And in this particular position, his bishops are both blocked. They can't do anything. So the engine says I'm up 0.9 here. 9. Okay, he played bishop f3. Always play bishop f3. Basically, he's trading because he wants to draw to get an IM norm. That's not how you play chess. You have to play good moves and have good ideas and stuff. Okay, every move is good for me here. I took. That's one of the good moves. Then I played knight f8. I want to play knight e6 and bishop c5. And then I have total domination of everything. He played rook fd1. I played bishop c5. He traded everything because he thinks that brings him closer to a draw. Now he played bishop c3 attacking my pawn. Now, in your opinion, should black defend his pawn? Something like b6 or rook e8. Or should I take his a pawn and he takes my a pawn? As in the song, I take you, you take me.
Well, I mean, typically it's better to be active, but I didn't really like the fact their bishop will be attacking your rook there after they take. So I'm not sure. If you go b6 or something, then c6 is weak. I don't know which is better.
Okay, it's better not to trade the pawns because this pawn is weaker than this pawn because my pawn can be defended by a pawn.
Right.
C6 isn't weak because there's no legal way he could ever attack it.
Oh, okay. So I don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, here now this is attacked.
Yeah.
And my A5 pawn's better than his A3 pawn. My pawn's controlling squares in his territory. His pawn's weak. When pawns are defended by pawns, that's solid. When pawns are defended by pieces, I can take the pawn, which I'm threatening to do now. Okay, now the engine, strangely, says he should just give a pawn away here. It just says take, I'm pawn up. It says that's the best. Okay, it's not something a human would do because it's weird.
Yeah.
He played queen b2. That's the second best engine move. And queen b2 does something and it undoes something. So, and this reminds me of the game I played in 1994, which we'll see in 2 weeks, against Nick DeFermian, when the same thing happened, except I was white and him so Indian, but the same infiltration, penetration story. Okay, so he played queen b2 defending his pawn, but his queen was on c2. So what square in his position did he unprotect by playing queen b2?
Where it was on.
It was on c2. Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, any of those adjacent squares.
Such as?
I don't know why that would matter. Let me see. Well, I don't see which one is the problem.
No, just tell me which squares the queen's protecting here that it's not here.
Oh, I thought you were wanting me to figure out the relevance of what's coming in. I mean, I can see like.
Then I'll tell you the relevance, but.
Well, I mean, okay, D1.
Right, correct. What else?
D2.
No, D2 is still protected, same.
Oh, that's right. I was just looking at the adjacent squares, and then D3.
D3 and E4.
Oh, yeah, I didn't think about it.
Okay, so D3 is one of the squares, so I played rook D3, threatening his knight and infiltrating into his position. Okay, he played knight E1 attacking my rook. I played a tiny combination, always sack the exchange. And then I get it back. And now here comes the knight, knight E6. And I'm all ready for knight D4. Hooray for Ben. And this pawn is still weak. And my queen can infiltrate on the D file. It's hard for him to protect all four squares.
Yeah.
Okay, he played queen B2, which is legal. I played knight G5, threatening his pawn. And what did he never do? In fact, the engine doesn't give this as one of the top 3 moves. So this could be the losing move. You know, he defended his pawn.
Oh, he went F3.
But if you want to defend your pawn, you have to play F3. You can't move your queen and defend your pawn, because I'll take on A3. You can't protect both pawns. So a human would play like F3 here. And that's what he did. And now the engine says I'm winning. That's actually a blunder. And that weakens the diagonal, obviously. So I play queen C5 check. I'll give you an easy one. So don't get it wrong, because I said it was easy. If he plays queen F2, which he did not, what do I do?
Oh, you can go knight H3.
Knight H3 check, right.
Yeah.
For the people who can't see it at home. There's half of you. Okay, so he played king G2. Then I infiltrated. Queen E3. Now you'll notice material is equal. Because it is.
Okay.
And pawn structure is relatively symmetrical. And it says I'm up 3.5. Now that's a positional advantage. Now here his knight's attacked. The knight has one safe square, but you can't go there. You know why? I mean, it's a joke, so it's hard to get.
Oh.
Because he doesn't have a square to spare.
Oh.
Okay, so if he plays knight c2, then his whole king side falls. Queen takes f3 and e4 and mate and such. It's just mate and 2. Not even, I can't even take everything because it's mate. Okay, so he played queen f2, and I played the obvious queen takes b3. Now I'm up a pawn, and he has weak pawns. He played queen d2. He wants to infiltrate and get perpetual check and such, mainly in such. How do I make my king safe so he doesn't perpetual check me?
Let's see. I think you can just go h6.
That's what I did. Okay, now in this position, he played queen d3, and this is where a lot of people fail.
I'm listening. I'm just reading the chat for a second. Go ahead. You said a lot of people fail.
Right. So should black trade queens, or should I not trade queens and move my queen away?
Let's see where to move. Let's go there. It seems like you should move the queen away
Yeah, never trade.
because you're winning.
I'm winning either way. And the point is, when you trade queens, what's the number one thing you think about?
You mean the reason I would trade queens?
Not in this position, in any position. If you can trade queens or not trade queens, what's the overriding factor in the position?
I'm not sure.
King safety.
Oh, okay.
So whose king is safer? Mine is. His king is wide open here.
Yeah.
And my knight's more active than his knight. And trading does win, as the engine indicates. I played queen b2 check. Now he's got a tough decision. He can't play queen c2 because his a pawn would be hanging. So he played king f1. And I took a second pawn. Now, if you play king g1, so I can't take your second pawn. Now I can play knight h3 check. And if you play king h1, this wins your queen. And king f1's worse. And then I play mate. So king g1's no good. So he played king f1. Now I'm up 2 pawns. He played queen check, but I saw it. Then he took my pawn on b6. And in this position, I don't want his queen to be active over here. I want to get at his king. So I didn't take this pawn, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with taking the pawn. But if I take it, he can take one of my pawns, and he'll have passed pawn. So I just played knight h3. That way he can't take any of my pawns, because queen f2 is mate. Okay, and he decided, Ben didn't take my pawn. So now I can play g4 and not lose the pawn. But that gives my knight the f4 square, which is quite nice. So I played knight f4. Now he can't take my pawns because I'm threatening queen e2 check. And then after king g1, I take his knight. So he has to stop queen e2 check. So here I'm a pawn up, and I'm attacking, and I have a better queen, and I have a safer king, and I have a better knight. Much better knight. Okay, and he has 3 weak pawns. I only have 2 weak pawns because my pawn structure is solid. Okay, he played queen f2. Once again, you could trade queens and win, but it's obvious my king is safer than his. Here, trading queens is wrong. Okay, so I checked. He saw it. Played king g1. And then I played h5, softening him up and giving my king more squares in case we ever do trade queens. I can move my king up. He took, and I played queen e6. Queen e6 looks like it threatens the pawn. But actually, I'm threatening knight h3 check. He played queen c5. I played queen d7. Now I want to get my queen down here. And he just doesn't have any moves. King f1, which loses immediately, by the way. King f1's a blunder, but the engine says I'm +5. So, okay. I already showed you the first move. Okay, black to play and win.
Let's see. Check and then.
What's funny is King f1 was his 40th move. That's where he made time control, and that was the move that lost the game immediately.
Yeah.
He was losing anyway.
Let's see. I guess knight e2.
Then King f2.
I didn't think about king f2.
I have a tricky tactic that wins.
Oh, let me just look for a second. Let's see, check.
Queen e6 would be hard for me to play now, but in 1992 I was good. So I just play good moves then. But now I don't. Truth hurts.
All right, let's see if I can check.
Yeah, this is like if Magnus was beating a weak grandmaster like me. This is how it would look. Yeah, except I'd be white. I don't see anything now, but in 92 I saw everything. But now, I'll probably lose this now.
Darn, I can't see anything. All right, let's see, check. Here. There.
Man, Jules Gambit has more viewers than us, and she's playing Minecraft.
Oh, yeah.
Man, the truth hurts. Somebody in the chat's like, Minecraft, I'll see you later. Oh, snap. Yeah, probably Holden's watching her now.
Yeah.
Your first move is illegal, and your second move is wrong, Bonarici.
Oh, he didn't get it yet.
No, it's a typo. I know what he meant. But he's still wrong. A couple people put the right answer in.
I'm just going to look another moment then.
You can look for the rest of your life. Don't ever give up.
I have one idea.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not mate. Mate is I win the queen.
Farty Party's banned.
I couldn't find a mate. Maybe there's one there. I was just looking at like queen g3.
Mm-hmm. Continue.
Well, go ahead then. It sounds like that's wrong.
No, that's right.
Oh, I thought he would
Hey,
go.
the engine announces made in 44 here.
Where's he going to go? I thought if he went...
Well, he only has one place to go. Because you're forking his king and his knight.
Right.
So he has to play king f1.
So then I thought if you just take the knight...
Right, that's what I did. Yeah, that's
and
the
then
answer.
you could go knight d3.
That's the answer.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
right. Yeah.
I saw that.
Yeah, I played takes and he resigned. Okay, now
Yay.
the end the end of the story. I told you at the end I was going to say something.
Yeah.
So this was played in the Netherlands, and so the Dutch people and the German people occasionally they don't get along, because things happened. Okay, and I was at the bar after the round, the tournament's over, and I was talking to my Dutch friends, and I said, I beat a guy in the last round, and he needed a draw for an IM norm, and they were like, yeah, so. And I said, and he was German. And they went, oh. Then they like clapped and they bought me alcohol. They're like, yay. So now I had a very funny experience at that tournament. One of the funniest jokes I've ever heard, when like in my presence, not like on TV, is I was at breakfast and it was like 7, 8 in the morning. So I was my usual morning self, okay. And I'm eating by myself. And at the next table, they're speaking German because they're German. So, makes sense. And I went over there and I said, hey, every morning I come here and you guys are speaking German. Do you have to do that? I'm trying to eat. And they said, we speak German because we know one day everyone will speak German. And then I laughed. Man, the truth hurts.
Yeah, to start, it took me so long. It was tough to see. I mean, because I kept thinking there was a mate. And then I finally started looking at other ideas. And that was what took me so long.
Mm-hmm. Can you give me sub, Ben, so I can play with bullet? Question mark and then a slash. What? I'll give you a sub and you can get English lessons. Oh, snap. And then he didn't get his norm.
Did he ever get it?
I looked it up a few years ago, like 2, 3 years ago. He is an IM.
Oh, he is.
So, yeah.
Okay. He didn't give up.
But I like the end of the game. I like that whole game. I like just outplayed him.
Yeah, I like the game. You'll be subbing this Friday, yay.
Yeah, you always calculate when you're playing. All people calculate everything. And by all people, I mean, GMs and IMs.
He made it 4 years later, or you're just saying that?
That's what it says. Yeah. He could be making it up.
That's what I mean. Thank you, 11 Ears, for the sub.
No, it usually
How's
tells
it
you when
going?
they became a titled player. It tells you in FIDE thing.
Yeah.
So that's too weird to make up. Mm-hmm. That's like saying he's a treasury agent when he's not one. Who would say they're that if they weren't? 11 Ears subscribe. That's from a movie. It's from Untouchables. Mm-hmm. Did you see that?
I saw it when it first came out in the theater.
Oh, me too.
But I haven't seen it since.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that sounds like me too.
So